and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Well, brace yourself. There's a lot of smearing that's going to be happening towards anybody that challenges the Biden campaign of 2024. We've seen it firsthand what's happening to RFK Jr. and Dr. Cornel West. We're seeing firsthand that the establishment media wants to vilify Dr. West for running in the Green Party. And we have covered before on how the Democratic Party is calling RFK Jr. a fringe candidate, even though he has gained a lot of support and huge momentum for his campaign. There is no denying that, again, there are people who want something different than Joe Biden. And it's clear to all of us, even the Democratic Party, that Joe Biden is showing signs of dementia. And the thing is, these smear attacks, they're not as powerful as they used to be. Chastising voters doesn't work unless you have no backbone at all. But what have I said about this before? What have I said about people who want to use the same tactic over and over again? Eventually, we see it coming a mile away. And now there is some real concern amongst the DNC leadership that maybe they have to toss away Joe Biden. I know, controversial statement here. But I want to pull up this video of Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson predicting that maybe Biden's time is over, that maybe now the era of everyone saying that Biden is A-okay has finally come to a close. Because now, and hey, California people, if you already moved out of the state of California, heads up, you're about to get some PTSD. We're going to be talking about Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, potentially succeeding Joe Biden, predicted by Tucker Carlson.
Joe Biden is old. He's 80 now. He'll be 85 at the end of the next term. People imagine that old age is a long, predictable progression from acuity to permanent unconsciousness. But often that's not at all how it actually works. When old people start to slide, they tend to slide fast. Joe Biden has begun that descent. Here he was yesterday.
And here's what she wrote to me, and I quote, "You can imagine my joy. She called them right away, and the next day they sent someone out to survey her yard. As Beth wrote, this is the best thing that's happened to rural America since the Rural Electrification Act brought electricity to farms in the 30s and 40s. End of quote."
End of quote.
That's so sad. Just even looking at Biden's facial expression, he's not all there. He's really being trained by his handlers, and he's still struggling.
You weren't supposed to hear that. Joe Biden read the stage directions out loud. That's like eating the garnish that comes with your entree. You're supposed to know not to do that. Joe Biden no longer does. In a year or two, he will be gone completely, and there will be no hiding it. At that point, the Democratic Party will face a secession problem. If Joe Biden is reelected next year and then forced to leave office during his term due to disability or death, that means Kamala Harris will become president of the United States. And nobody wants that, not even her husband. In real life, nobody likes Kamala Harris.
And that's kind of sad, too. Nobody likes Kamala. But we'll be talking about Kamala Harris and the fact that she is not a popular person later on in the show. But again, looking at this administration, it's very clear to anyone that hasn't been following politics that the years of America being under the control of this administration by Joe Biden, by Kamala Harris, has shown nothing but hardship for the American citizen. Things have not changed. They have gotten worse. Yes, I'm well aware of what I just said here. Things have gotten worse. Nothing fundamentally changed for the top 1%, but as for the rest of us, it got way, way worse. None of the promises that were made in the 2020 campaign were ever followed through on. And the sad truth is that all these vote blue, no matter who, sycophants who said, once we get Biden into office, America's soul will come back. Well, America never really had much of a soul to begin with, especially with these sycophant, bloodthirsty politicians running the country like it's their own amusement park. And now we're looking at the possibility of A governor who, in my opinion, is the last person who should ascend to the presidency, potentially being picked as Biden's successor. Also, side note, what does that say about Kamala?
It's not an attack on her. In fact, it's possible to feel pity for someone who's so universally reviled. It is instead an observation of unchanging physical reality like gravity or photosynthesis. Nobody wants Kamala Harris to be president. No one will benefit if she becomes president. So logic suggests there's going to be a change. It's going to have to be somebody else. And whoever that person is going to have to enter the race soon, before the election, after Biden drops out. Who could that person be? We don't know, obviously. This is all just guessing. But we do know whoever that is will have to have two essential criteria. He'll have to be as shallow, ruthless, and transactional as Joe Biden is, and he'll need to have flattery skills that are so polished and advanced they'd be considered superior even in the Saudi royal court. And there's only one man in modern America who fits that description: Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, and perhaps not coincidentally, Joe Biden's new closest friend.
People of California, I am so sorry what you have to deal with in regards to Gavin Newsom and his failed policies. And if you escaped from California and moved to another state, well, turns out there's a possibility he could be handpicked as Biden's successor. And I say the possibility, and I have to agree with Tucker Carlson in regards to this. Biden cannot hold a conversation. He is showing signs of frailty. Now, there is a possibility, again, where the Democrats keep on holding on to Biden. So I want to ask this question to all of you. Let's have democracy in the chat. I know this is controversial statement here. What is democracy? I don't know what that is. Type 1 if you think the Democrats are going to hold on to Biden because they believe that he is one strong horse and they are going to roll with him from beginning to end. A type 2, no. There might be a very well good chance that they're going to pick somebody, not Kamala, to be running in 2024. I mean, the show's over for Biden. Type 2 if you think that's your answer. I want to see feedback from the audience.
I am here, Mr. President, Newsom told Biden at an event the two did together last week. I am here as a proud American, as a proud Californian, mesmerized by not just your faith and your devotion to this country and the world we're trying to build, but by your results, by your action, by your passion, by your capacity to deliver. I am mesmerized by you, Joe Biden.
Also, that's how you know politicians are a bunch of scumbags, too. They say things that the other group wants to hear. Notice that when there's somebody on the ascent, on the rise, you'll notice that a lot of these politicians will fly around them like, a fly swarming to a pile of crap. I mean, look, Trump surrounded himself with a bunch of yes people, and as soon as he was out of power, all of his nearest and dearest turned against him. DeSantis, Pence, Haley, Chris Christie, also who I like to call Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. Yeah, these politicians, they're opportunistic, they're parasites, they're pests, and they're nothing but yes people.
Imagine saying that as a compliment. You couldn't do it. Few human beings could do it, but Gavin Newsom had no problem at all. Those words rolled right off his forked tongue. He never stopped smiling. So if you're looking for the leader of the coup, there he is right there.
But it's also interesting to point out that as there's going to be the possibility, it's interesting to point out that if there's going to be the possibility of somebody replacing Biden, or the talk of it, or articles about maybe how effective they are as a leader, what does this say about the entire Democratic primary going forward? Now, again, we have said before that the DNC will pick who they want. The receipts are out there. The Democratic Party has already admitted that they run the system and they know better than the voters. This is a harsh truth that a lot of Democratic voters have to come to terms with, especially those who still hold on to the notion that you could somehow save the Democratic Party. Well, you can't, especially when you have articles like this. And again, this came out just a few days ago. Biden allies brush off calls for primary debates. President Biden, long shot primary rivals increasingly want to debate him in 2024, which has been made very clear that's not going to happen. But those demands are being ignored by the White House and haven't picked up steam with progressives in Congress. Biden's two Democratic opponents, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Marianne Williamson, have talked openly about the benefits of debating. Third-party candidate Dr. Cornel West also said he would welcome the chance to go head-to-head with the president in a text message to the Hill. But the calls have not won support from liberal members of the House and Senate, at least so far. And Democratic strategists say there's not much reason to think Biden's campaign would sign off on a debate, especially given arguments that agreeing to share a stage would only elevate his two marginal opponents. Now, RFK Jr. seems to be the only reasonable and serious candidate challenging Joe Biden, already at double-digit numbers, and those numbers are increasingly to rise as time goes on. The Biden campaign cannot ignore it too long. That Biden is going to have to eventually do a town hall or hold some kind of interview that's far longer than just 10 minutes. He's going to have to show himself to the American people that he's still somewhat competent. And unfortunately, with all the videos that are right now popping up and all the scandals surrounding Joe Biden, he may not be up to the challenge. But the media is always quick to vilify anyone challenging Joe Biden or somebody who would rock the boat. And of course, the media, especially corporate media like BSDNC, has its bias. Mehdi Hasan, he's not a serious person. 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 Oh, it's RFK Jr. The whole event was a doctor talking about the pandemic. Again, I got to be careful with my words because YouTube likes to put out context warnings, or sometimes words might trigger it. But I think you see how this primary is going to play out, especially even in a general election. Because no matter how this plays, again, diehard RFK Jr. supporters, this is just a heads up. The DNC is going to rig the primary. They're going to try every single dirty trick in the book. Case in point, Iowa and New Hampshire delegations could potentially be dismissed when the convention takes place here in the city of Chicago in 2024. If you're not going to play ball with the establishment will dismiss you. And even in the most outrageous scenario where RFK Jr. is succeeding against Biden and it looks like he has it in the bag, the Democratic Party can and will hit that nuke button and say, no, Biden is our guy, or Gavin Newsom is our guy. They don't like RFK Jr. They don't like Marianne Williamson. Well, they probably do like Marianne Williamson because she'll probably cave out pretty soon within the next few months because her campaign is not gaining steam or momentum. But if you are somebody that could potentially make Joe Biden look bad, you're going to have corporate media, people like Mehdi Hasan, put out tweets like this. And again, with somebody with that amount of influence saying he's not a serious person, again, Mehdi Hasan, if he's not a serious person, then have a town hall with him, debate him, have him on your show, RFK Jr., have Dr. Cornel West on your show, talk to them, have that conversation. Because when I see stuff like this, it's a failed attempt to try and convince voters that, oh, Biden is more serious than RFK Jr. There's talk now of somebody potentially replacing Biden. And that's a very serious thing, because if Biden were to get reelected, he'll be the oldest sitting president in U.S. history. That is pathetic. And a vote for Biden is a vote for Kamala. And Kamala Harris's approval rating has been in the dumps. So what I want to say to the Democratic establishment and the diehard, vote blue no matter who people, how long are you going to keep this game going on for? How long do you want to keep on playing stupid? We all see it. We all know what's wrong. We see it firsthand that Joe Biden doesn't have what it takes. He's running out of gas. He is the setting sun. And for those who say that Biden is their guy, I'm not going to treat you like a serious person. I'm going to treat you like a moron. Now, I'm not calling you a moron. I'm going to treat you like a moron. we're right back to where we started. And there is, again, the depressing fact that we see the entire election cycle of 2020 get repeated again in 2024. Trump versus Biden. How uninspiring. How mediocre. Two old men fighting over a cold bowl of soup. That cold bowl of soup is America. The censorship, the suppression, and the neoliberal narrative is going to be intensified. Now, again, even if Biden is somehow cast aside, whoever the DNC is going to pick, they are going to elevate that person as their end-all, be-all person. The person that can hold on to the Democratic banner. The thing is, and this is something that voters have to come to terms with, you're not the one making that decision. It's the people behind the closed doors, smoking the cigars that are making that decision. It's the corporate donors. It's the 1%ers. They dictate what you should think and feel. Once again, break away from the two-party system and wake up.